It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is with us in the booth, and you are watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast, 790 The Score in Providence. And make sure when you get on there, you subscribe, like Joe's putting that up right now. Give us that thumbs up. Get all our notifications so you never, ever miss a show or looking at us right now. We're feeling awfully blue today. I got a blue shirt. You got a blue shirt.
Hey, what are you going to do? Hey, it's one
listen. Joe, are you wearing a blue shirt?
I am. I didn't even
realize. He has a blue shirt on, I think.
We all called each other.
Maybe it's the weather. It's like 95 degrees out here, Chris. You know how the humidity is over here. You just like saturated with water.
Yeah. It'll take 6 showers a day. So
yeah. You know?
I don't know what shirt you're wearing, but let us know in Heated Hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. 24/7, or you can email us on our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, we got a busy one. B's and C's, no B's, but C's have won the championship. So, banner 18 is going up. Parade is tomorrow. We're recording on Thursday, and we're going to get into all of that. Of course, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that. And we're going to hear from one of you briefly. I think we had a mailbag, so on our Heated Hotline. And, of course, Yankees versus Red Sox. Mark's chomping at the bit to get to that one. So stick around for that. You're not going to want to miss it. Guys.
Hey.
I mean, shouldn't he be more excited about the championship?
It's a good week. Listen, I'm excited. It's a good week, right? Good week.
This is a good week.
Right?
This is what
we won number 18.
Humidity does it brings you down.
We
get tired and all run down.
Listen, last week we had Brady. This week we got a championship. It's been a good 2 weeks, Chris.
There you go. There you go. Jet lag for me, but it's all
worth it. You love to fly.
It was all worth it. So, speaking of banner 18, let's get into it. We'll break it all down. B's and C's, we're going to do it now.
It is an offer of the Celtics are the world champions, and they have shown the world how great a ball club they really are. Scream shot,
So the Celtics win the World Championship, NBA Champions 2024, and did it in 5 games. Mark's prediction, he called it in 5. A lot of people called it in 5. I said 6 just to be, just to make it interesting. And there was a couple of times where I thought it may be 6 games that it would take, but they did it in 5. And I with relative ease to me.
No, I took.
I mean, the whole playoffs. Before we get into the series, and I mean, we broke the series down a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and so this segment I want to talk a lot more about what happens now, moving forward, talking about some of these guys, but we do have to go into the series a little bit. And did you ever feel throughout the entire playoffs? Did you ever feel like back against the wall, kind of nerved up about it?
No. They kind of rolled through, Chris, when you really think about it, right? They rolled through. I mean, I don't think they were ever really challenged by anybody.
Yeah.
I don't think
they only lost 3 games.
Yeah.
In the final. So tell me, what did they do to win this thing? Because I know, and we're going to talk about Missoula too a little bit, that factor, and the analytics and the math with him, and he actually said it after the game. But going into the series, what did it for them?
Well, Chris, first of all, defense. Okay, Drew Holiday and Derek White, at the combination of the two, absolutely shut down Kyrie. They can say whatever they want, Chris, about Kyrie. The fans got to him, and maybe they did get to him in Boston a little bit. They might have, but listen, by saying that, you're not giving Holiday and White enough credit. They shut him down. They frustrated him. they played defense on him, Chris, like nobody's played defense on him all year. And it showed. He wasn't able to drive to the basket and get a lot of the shots that he had in those Western Conference series. So defensively, Chris, I think that was key. That was big. Okay, yeah, Doncic got his points, but because he had to do so much, Chris, he was worn out every fourth quarter. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, in just about every game, I guess maybe not the one that they won, he had nothing left in the tank and they kept running. I mean, I know we said, they could play better defense on him. But when they needed to, Chris, they did run different guys at him and play defense on him. So he was worn out by the fourth quarter in every game. And yes, they played Missoula's style. And you and I said from the beginning, can you win a championship playing that style of basketball? Well, they did. They distributed the ball. They didn't have really that one dominant guy. They kept shooting 3-pointers. And so the combination, Chris, of the defense and I guess we'd say Missoula's style and philosophy of offense, it worked out. They won it.
Yeah, but did it really work out, the style of offense? Because
they won.
Look, I know that. I get it. I get that they won. I understand that. But the 3-point percentage throughout this playoffs, and look, we said this coming in that they're going to have a couple of games where they're lights out from 3-point and all those threes they take 40, 50 threes. That's what they did. And they did, but there were more games that they didn't. I mean, there were more games where the shooting percentage was not good. And so when I go into the series and I look at it, say, well, okay, I don't see a high shooting percentage from 3-pointer, from 3-point land. So where they won this series is, I agree with Mark. I mean, every game they won, they held them under 100. Okay. And that's stifling defense. And it always was at the end, even throughout the whole playoffs, Mark. It all was at the end of every game. They just turned it up. They turned the defensive intensity up. The guards just were smothering. Listen, Jaylen Brown, okay, the way he was fighting over screens, the way they defended in Game 5, to me that was their best defensive game.
Yeah, it was
of the series.
It was,
and so I give it to them on that. And so now, so fine, they win the series.
Game 4 was almost like, okay, you know what? Let's take a deep breath. They fell behind early, and I don't think they wanted to waste the energy to try to come back in that game. And you're like, okay, we'll go home, we'll win this thing. I mean, because I think if they wanted to exude the energy and really fight through, maybe they could have tried to steal like Game 4, but there was no need to, Chris. And I think they said, you know what? We'll rest some guys.
Do it in front of our fans.
Go home, take care of business. And I think that was a conscious decision. Not before the game, but once they got hit early and they were a little sloppy early, I think that was the conscious decision was, okay, fine. We'll mail it in here, but we're going to go home and win this thing. And they did. They went home and won it.
And you said it too. You said early on that with the Porzingis situation, they're not going to touch him in Game 4. If he plays, he'll play in Game 5.
And Game
that's what
5,
he did.
Chris, I didn't even know if he was healthy, but like you said, Chris,
no, he wasn't.
They were just going to use him, I guess, to give Horford a couple of breaks throughout the game. And I think, who knows, Chris, maybe it was one of those situations where they said, hey, listen, you can't hurt it anymore. You have to have surgery at the end of the season, no matter what. So if you go out and play 15, 18 minutes for us, chances are you're not gonna hurt it anymore. So just let's go out and play. And I think that's what he did. That's what it seemed like, Chris, because he really couldn't give you much, but he gave you minutes to rest Horford. Yeah,
and that's what it turned into. It turned into keeping Horford fresh, who we said would die out on that court, and he did. Yeah. I mean, he made play after play when needed. And so they win the thing. Now we get to the MVP. So Finals MVP goes to Jaylen Brown. Were you surprised by that? I was. And I'll give you the numbers when you're done in a minute. But go ahead.
I was, because Tatum showed up in that last game, Chris. He scored over 30 points. He didn't show up in Game 4, but nobody showed up in Game 4.
No.
And I thought Tatum, Chris, showed up
He had 30 in game 3 also.
In game 3, yeah, I was going to say that. The first 2 games, no, he really didn't show up. That game, everybody said, "Oh, we got the almost a triple double." I think people must have been listening to the show, Chris, because I think they took your viewpoint as to, did he really distribute the basketball because he led the team in shots that night, the game that you highlighted on the show, and it was almost like the voters were listening to your comments, because I think those first 2 games hurt him.
Well, I will say, and when we talked about it, they for sure hurt him. But what I think more than that, because look, when you go down when you go in the numbers for the finals, okay, so you look at points per game. Listen, Tatum edges Brown out in most of these numbers. I mean, you have points per game 22-20. Tatum versus Brown. Field goal percentage 388. Brown had a little bit better of a field goal percentage. 3-point percentage, Tatum was better. Rebounds per game, almost 8 for Tatum, 5.5 for Brown, and 7 assists per game versus 5 for Brown. So the numbers show that Tatum should have gotten this thing. Now, I listen, after game 3 and game 5, I thought those games Tatum redeemed himself enough to get it. And I was surprised, and I thought, it could have gone either way, but I thought Tatum should have gotten it. I did, because when I look at these numbers and I look at the amount of times Tatum was doubled anytime he touched the ball, which was a lot, he did affect the game that way.
Chris, do you think Brown
But it's on
got
the defense?
I was just going to say that the combination between offense and defense, and you mentioned how he was fighting through screens on the defensive end in game 5, Brown.
Yeah.
Did his defense and the combination of both ends of the court, is that what kind of pushed him over?
I think so.
Because
especially
I
in
think
games 1 and 2.
Holiday, Chris, was on the fringe, and then he really didn't show up in game 4 or game 3. 1 he did, and I think the last game he did. But Brown, Chris, I think it was maybe the defense.
I do this. I'm going to interject. I'll say that Brown was the most consistent throughout with that both gameplay on offense and defense through the whole.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a good observation,
that's
Joe.
a very good point. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I do. And I think that he carried those first 2 games were so damn important, and Brown really carried them through those games. And so I think that because of that, the taste
especially
was in the voters'
second
mouth.
game, Chris. That second game was close going into the last 5-6 minutes, and we were like, okay, they're going to close here, and they didn't close. And then game 3, when Doncic fouls out, we were like, okay, they're going to close here too, and they didn't close because the defense stepped up. But to Joe's point, Brown was pretty consistent in those games, Chris.
So you mentioned
you know what,
Holiday.
Chris, he didn't make any of those stupid, like he did against Golden State, dribble off the leg, drive into the basket. You didn't see any of those typical mistakes from Brown at all in this series.
Yeah, and so, and you mentioned Holiday now. Okay, so I want to talk about Holiday a little bit and some of the Missoula factor. Okay.
Yep.
Holiday was spectacular. They don't do this thing without him. So so for me, if you're naming an unsung hero, you take Tatum and Brown out of it, it's got to be Holiday.
Yeah.
And that's what they traded for him. That's why they made the trade, Chris. They did this because they thought he would put them, well, obviously Porzingis as well, but they felt as though Porzingis and Holiday would put them over the top. Porzingis was hurt, so it really wasn't him. But Holiday put him over the top, Chris. And when they got him, you and I said all year, you're going to need him if you're going to win this thing, because we felt that he was underused in the regular season a lot of times. Remember? And we were like, if you're going to win a championship, he's going to have to be something in the playoffs for you.
Yeah.
And he was.
And I said it several weeks ago. What he provides. Now Boston fans can forget Marcus Smart because now you know what a point guard looks like.
Yeah.
And you know how a point guard behaves. The calm that he brought, the level of professionalism, the experience, the ability to get him in and out of things. You and I said he's going to have to keep the ball. Ball's going to have to be in his hands a lot. And it was, and they won.
It was.
Now,
It definitely was.
Mr. Missoula. So, Mark, we eat a little crow on a couple of things. Okay.
No, listen, I'm ready to eat crow.
On a couple of things. I said, you're talking about, and we can go in the next segment talking about Tatum a little bit, and what's next. But Missoula, we've been on his ass for 2 years now, for 2 seasons.
We have.
Especially with the math. Now, I still don't agree with, after the game, he said it right after the game. Confetti's falling. He's saying we won this with math and effort. So he believes it. He believes in the numbers. He believes in the analytics.
He does believe it.
But where I will eat crow is this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will eat it on this. I still don't agree with the math. But what he was able to do was he was able to provide a calm for a team with a lot of talent. He was able to be such a professional with these guys. And he outworked the room. He really did. He outworked the room to a degree where they respected him, to the point where they were willing to give up and sacrifice numbers for what he believes. And he imparted that on his team, and they bought it. Mm-hmm. So to me, hats off.
Yeah, Chris, you brought up calm. So he did bring a calm to this team because, listen, make no doubt about it. This team had a lot of pressure on them, Chris. Yes, they were the best team all year from the opening tip back in October, early November to June. They were the best team in the NBA. And a lot of pressure went with that. And a lot of the baggage and the monkey on their back from last year, from the Golden State series. And Missoula, Chris, you're right, was the right guy to say, hey, this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to play. We're not deviating. Stay with the system. Stay with the structure. We're going to win this thing. Don't worry about it. We're going to win it. And that calmness, Chris, you're right. I think rubbed off on the guys because they bought into, like you said, the math, the effort, that they bought into all of that.
Yeah. So,
and I am going to say this, Chris, nobody really gave him credit. I'm going to give Brad Stevens credit because he brought in the right pieces, because Danny Ainge, Chris, would have never traded Marcus Smart. He loved him. He wouldn't have made that deal, I don't think.
Yeah, you credit Danny Ainge for the draft. You credit Brad Stevens for everything since. And you're right. He doesn't get enough credit. And that's what GMs do. I mean, they're never going to get that credit. But they're not here without Brad Stevens.
No, they're not.
He deserved the executive of the year.
And I think Stevens, Chris, is the guy that pulled the trigger on Missoula. Everyone said, well, who's he? What the hell? Is he crazy? When Udoka got in trouble, they're like, he's not ready for this.
Right.
At this level. Yeah. But Stevens had faith in him.
Yeah. So it's definitely a close-knit core group from top owner all the way to bottom.
And Chris, they all mentioned it after the game. Yeah. After the game, Holiday and White and they all brought, that whole tight-knit group. It was so evident.
It works.
They love playing with each other, these guys.
It works. And, the fans got the Kyrie. I think they did, but it's hard to hate. You want to hate him, but he handled it with class. He gave them their props and said what a together group they are, and we need to take an example from them. So you can't really, but we're going to.
Yes, we can.
And on the other side, we're going to talk about what happens next. So this portion of B's and C's was presented by the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone, premieres on June 30th, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern on all the outlets, 790 The Score. We're going to be talking Patriots football, Mark, Joe. So make sure you join us.
Now June 30th, Chris, is a Sunday, correct? So it's going to be every Sunday. It's going to be Sundays. Right?
Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And when the season begins, it's going to be the first pregame show you hear before the Patriots game. You're not going to want to miss that. So stay tuned for June 30th. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk more Celtics on the other side. No flipping.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. Joe, nice walk. Listen,
I like that.
For a personal reason, I will tell you that's the best commercial you've ever made for this show and maybe in history, and you know why.
Oh, are you going to share that with us?
And you know why. The music he played there, it takes too long to explain it.
Okay.
If you would catch that bit.
But
Okay.
and at some point we'll talk about that. But getting back to the Celtics, Mark, a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're talking about now they've won this thing now, and the pressure was on them. You're right, because they had been so close for so long. Now he's the youngest, in that range of LeBron and those guys. Tatum's won it now at 26.
Yep.
These guys are all in their prime. So here's what we have. Okay,
The whole team's back next year, Chris.
The whole team is
under
back
contract.
Yeah, and I want to talk about how long you think they can keep this together. Just giving you the numbers. Tatum's going to get his max deal. Okay.
Yep.
So he signed through 2025 right now. He's 26 years old, but he's going to be tied up for about 5 years. Jaylen Brown, okay. Where is it? Jaylen Brown has got 5 years left on his contract. Drew Holiday's got 4 years left. Porzingis 2 and White 1. Okay. They're already talking about extending White. I think next year they'll see about injuries with Porzingis. The point is, these guys are going to be with each other for at least 2 more years. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say. And when Brown signed his max deal, Chris, they said that you had basically a 3-year window, because then after that, when you re-sign Tatum and how you move forward after, they said that you might have to, at the end of the 3rd year, get rid of Brown. And there was some ways to do that after year 3 in that contract that he signed. So that's, everybody said, okay, you got a 3-year window, win as many championships as you can. Maybe you win 1, maybe you win 2. Maybe you win 3, but at least maybe you should possibly repeat, right? With all the guys that are coming back, if everybody is healthy and you can manage Porzingis. I mean, let's face it, Chris. From the opening tip to the championship, this was the best team in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Right? Granted,
no question.
you and I bantered all year about matchups.
Yeah,
what if they play Denver? What if they this and that? But to give them their props, they were the best team in the NBA all year.
You still think they could beat Denver? Is he going to backpedal now? Is he going to backpedal? Are you going to backpedal now?
No, I still think Denver would have been a very tough matchup for them. I don't know if they would have beat Denver. I'm going to tell you what. If they would have beat Denver, Chris, that series would have had to go on at least 6 or 7 games. They weren't beating Denver in 4 or 5 games. There's no way. That series would have been a war. It would have been a war, and they would have needed Porzingis. Yes.
Yeah. Well, they would have needed Porzingis. They weren't. I don't think they would have beaten. I'll say it. I don't think they would have beaten Denver without him.
No. But Chris, they do have everybody back. So conceivably, if you can manage Porzingis and keep him healthy, does anybody in the East, unless they bring in guys in the offseason, Milwaukee or maybe the Knicks, does anybody in the East really scare you?
No, I mean, you don't know what they're going to do.
If you stay healthy?
Yeah, I don't know what Milwaukee's going to do, what they're going to bring in, but no, I mean, I think Cleveland is going to get better. I think Indiana can get a little better if they add a piece or two. But no, I mean, they're the class of the East. I mean, I think you're just simply looking out west to see, is this team a dynasty? And a lot of people are saying, well, no, I mean, they're not going to be a dynasty. The NBA teams don't do that anymore. The last 5 NBA teams have not repeated. The last 5 champions have not repeated. And I will say this: if you go down that list,
Brown and Tatum could possibly take that leap,
right? Because if you go down that list, okay, and you look at Toronto, and you look at Milwaukee, and you look at Golden State and Denver, and and I don't know who the hell the other one was, but when you go down that list, there were players plucked from that team, or coaches, or there were significant changes made to those teams after the championship. That you can argue, and that's not going to happen here for a couple of years. What you're talking about is that $100 million they're going to have to pay.
Golden State's last championship too. We knew that was going to be their last run. I mean, Curry and those guys, they were kind of on the back end, right? So you knew they weren't going to continue. But you're right. Well, I'm talking about the $100 million, Chris.
Yeah, and I don't think the ownership. I don't think they care. Okay. I think. Listen, they make so much damn money. Look, okay, here's this will put it in perspective for you. Detroit fired their coach. Okay? Detroit's not even close. They're not even sniffing at playoffs. And they have to pay this guy $69 million.
The coach.
$60 million, the coach. And they let him go. And they're going to pay it. So if Detroit's doing that, that shows you the kind of revenue these teams are bringing in. I don't think Wick and ownership care. I think if they're still set to win, if they're still winning, they'll pay it. They don't care. And as long as you have Tatum and Brown, that's the wild card.
What is it?
Well, the wild card, indifferent with all those other teams, is you got Tatum and Brown. Tatum and Brown are the draw.
In their prime.
Yeah, they're in prime, and they're the draw for the ancillary pieces that you can bring in.
Yeah. And, Chris, the NBA is on the verge of signing a huge new TV contract with someone.
Right.
It looks like they're going to leave TNT. It's going to be worth big money. So the revenue stream is going to be incredible for these owners. So you're right, Chris. The revenue will be there because this new TV contract's gonna break all kind of records for the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if they're if those two guys are there and they continue to win, I think ownership won't have a problem doing that. And so, can they be a dynasty? Sure. Can they repeat? They should repeat. They should. I mean, it isn't like
now
they should, because talk about that, getting over that hump.
So now you get over. So now they get over the hump, Chris. They don't have the monkey on their back. I think. Listen. So Brown won MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals, and he wins MVP of the championship series, the finals, right?
Yeah.
However, I like that happened. I like that because that's the carrot and the stick for Tatum, because Tatum hasn't reached the pinnacle yet. Yeah, he won an NBA championship. He hasn't won a league MVP, but he hasn't won a finals MVP, Eastern Conference MVP. Like, there's still that, okay, let's go repeat, and I'll dominate this time. And now I'm going to get my MVP. That's still there for him. Whether he can do it or not, I don't know, Chris, but that's still there for him because he didn't do that in this playoff series. So there's another level that Tatum can go to, perhaps, to say, okay, this time it's me. It's my team. I'm winning this thing this time. Jalen, yeah, we're going to play as a team, but I'm going to score 40 a game in the finals, and we're going to win this thing. So there is that also, Chris, where can you repeat? Yes, but you also have an opportunity for Tatum now to say, okay, he may have that chip still on his shoulder. Yeah, we finally won one, but now I want to prove I can dominate.
I agree with that. I agree with that kind of motivation, and I've been hearing a lot about this over the last couple of days, about what's the motivation for these guys? What's the motivation? Mm-hmm. If you notice the people that are saying this, they're not people that have ever lifted a trophy.
No.
They're not people that have been in a locker room, that have ever been part of something like this. They got the taste. And that's something Frederick Maxwell was trying to explain, I think, the other night. He didn't do a very good job of it, but he was trying to. And that when you win, okay, and I get it, when they lost and that gave them the juice to say, I don't want to ever feel that again. Well, it's just as potent on the other side. When you win, the feeling of the euphoria of winning and that feeling of being the best and nobody can touch us, that's addictive. And if you're a winner, if you're that kind of person, I believe Jaylen Brown is, and you know what? I've seen pieces of Tatum now that tell me that he is a winner, that he wants to win.
Holiday's a winner.
When you feel that feeling once, you want to feel that feeling all the time, Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? And so that in itself, nobody's saying that enough, that itself is a motivator. I'm not satisfied, is my point. And that makes a difference. Now, health becomes an issue because you look at Jason Tatum, okay? He played, he was number 8 in the league, and I thought he would be closer to the top in minutes played throughout the seasons. He played a lot of minutes. And then if you take the playoffs and put it in there, he's probably number 1. So with that much wear on this guy, and he plays a lot, and he very rarely misses, and now he's going to go play in the Olympics, okay? Are you worried about the fact that this dude needs to just sit down for a while?
Well, yeah. You know what? I almost, as a franchise, would almost say, Jason, do you really want to play in the Olympics? I mean, I know it's a gold medal. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You get to play with these guys. It's like a big party, all-star game for these guys. But God forbid you get hurt out there. Now what? Now to do what? Really?
Mm.
I don't know.
I'm not as worried about the Olympics only because there's, everybody's talking about that. Well, he shouldn't play in the Olympics. It's taking its toll. You're talking a few weeks of. It's a little more than a glorified. It's a glorified All-Star game. It's a little more than an All-Star game, meaning the effort he's not playing 40 minutes a game in those games. You're full of All-Stars. Right. I mean, he's not playing 40 minutes. He's not going to go full brass in practice. So, I mean, I don't know that I just think coming into next year, what I don't want to have happen is he's so worn down, like you say, that, let's rest him and we don't care if we go 15-15 to start the season. That can't happen.
The issue next year, Chris, is you got lucky this year that you managed Porzingis really well. And for the most part, he played in a lot of regular season games. Yes, he got hurt in the playoffs. But sometimes in the regular season, Chris, he only plays, 50 games and he misses 32 in the past, 40. He didn't do that with you. He didn't miss 40 games, regular season games.
No,
so
but
they managed him very well. He still got hurt in the playoffs, but I thought they did a good job of managing him.
I thought Mazzulla did a good job all season with everybody.
Yeah.
Managing them well. I thought we kept questioning a lot of times the substitution packages and those kinds of things. And then at some point in the season, you and I said, yeah, you could see what's happening here. I mean, he's trying to get these guys mixed and matched and rested when he needs to do. And he did it. I think, he did a good job all season long. Now, part of them staying healthy is the fact that they won. See, Tatum and Brown are such a good draw for other guys, for ancillary pieces, that you can now bring in, change out a couple of different pieces. Like they need another big man,
And you can get, Chris, guys, to your point, that are willing to come in for the veteran minimum because of Tatum and Brown now.
And that keeps you healthy because it keeps your guys resting and you can still win. Right. So I think they're going to be okay moving forward.
What about Mazzulla, Chris, moving forward? Now, but does he have to get an extension?
I think so.
You got to lock him up long term because he is. I don't know. I don't know what his contract looks like. He's young, obviously.
Yeah, he deserves it. I mean, you want a ring.
You
put a banner up there. You deserve it. I mean, period. Yes, he deserves an extension. Absolutely.
Speaking
of
let's
how cool is it? Let me ask you guys this: how cool is it that we've been alive with another potential dynasty? We've been alive through 3 different generational Celtics:
the 80s, the 2000s, and now today. Now,
yeah. How cool is that?
Well, with the 2000s, really a dynasty, you only won 1.
No, but they had a 3. No, they only won 1. I don't think it was a dynasty, but
they had that run. It was dominant. It was definitely dominant, but it
was an all-time team. Right? It was one of those all-time type teams.
It was one of those all-time type teams. But now,
to his point,
you repeat, Chris. Now the narrative changes about this team and about these guys next year. Okay, now what are we talking about? We're not there yet. But we might have to have that discussion next year. The last thing I'll bring up before I know we're going to move on is the comment was made that they'll never win a championship with Jason Tatum.
That's right. I knew you were getting there. I was hoping we could get the break without that. I said it. Okay. I did, and I'll eat it. I said they would never win a championship with Jason Tatum. Now, yes, I did say that, and obviously
I agreed with you. Back. And I'll say this: I agreed with you. I did,
but not to be revisionist. But in our defense, what we said was they'll never win a championship with Jason Tatum having to be the alpha. So did they? Did they win a championship with him having to be the alpha?
And Chris, that's a great point because he was not the alpha. He didn't have to be.
What he showed me is that he's the alpha in a different way. That we
Explain that.
Expecting.
Explain it.
He's the alpha. He's the lead by example kind of guy. Where it's not the flash, it's the rebounds, it's the assists, it's the points when you need it. It's taking on the double. It's taking on the questions. It's taking on the criticisms. It's taking it on with a badge. Okay, fielding that for his team. He's a complete basketball player. Okay. And he's a leader in that sense.
So you can be a leader.
So that
then,
there's
Chris.
an alpha. That's an alpha too.
Okay, so you can be a leader without being the
40 points,
the
30 a
Steph
game.
Curry, the Steph Curry alpha or the LeBron alpha.
Right.
He's the alpha in a different way. Okay.
Right. Which he says he got from Al Horford, which I believe him.
And you know, I'll take that. That's a very good point. That, you know,
So so congratulations to the Boston Celtics, banner 18, 2024.
Parade Friday.
champs. Parade,
I know we're taping on a Thursday. I know we're going to show this. This will be heard on Saturday, but Friday is the parade. They're expecting maybe 1 million people, Chris.
That's right. So listen, be careful out there. Bring a lot of water. It's going to be hot, but enjoy it. Hey, another parade in Boston. Title Town, baby. Title Town. T's and C's was presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CorsoLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, we come back. Buckle up. Catone's comments is next.
No one ever thinks they'll be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, go to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Time for Catone's
So I did it again.
Oh,
I
you
don't know
left
what's-
your house.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I did it again. I left my house and I went. Listen, I don't even want to tell this story, but I have to. I went to one of those stores. Yep, I did it again. And this time I had my wife with me. So I can't even say, oh, she called me. She bothered me. No, she
Get her
was
on the
with
show. Get
She-
her on the.
Gotta bring her on. She was with me this time. Now, we go. My son, he likes these chocolate muffins, right? Okay. So he'll have a chocolate muffin in the morning before he goes out, whatever, for the day. So I go to this store. I go to the bakery area of the store. He likes their chocolate muffins, whatever. It says 2 for I think it was like $6.99. No, it didn't. It said $6.99. That's my argument. It said $6.99 muffins, whatever. There were 6 big muffins. I said, okay, good. So my wife's going through, doing whatever she's getting. So I get the muffins for him. Okay, we go check out. I get the muffins. Okay, yep. And the cashier says, oh, I don't know. She said something like that, like, I don't know, $10.99 or what. I don't know what. She said some ridiculous price. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, those are $6.99. She said, no, they're not. You're going to buy 2 packages for $6.99. I said, well, I don't want 2 packages. I don't want 12. I want 6. She said, but sir, that's not how this works. You got to buy 2 for the price. I said, but the sign doesn't say that. The sign says $6.99. There's no 2. There's no 2 in front of anything over there. It just says $6.99. She says, well, sir, you have to buy 2. So now I see my wife. She's tapping her foot. She's giving me the look like, listen, just let it go. Either pay the full price or go get 6 more. So now it's the principle of the thing. I am not paying the full price because I know what the damn sign says. So now I go, okay, I'm going to schlep it back over there and I got to go get another 6 of these muffins. Well, of course, they got no more chocolate muffins. Of course they don't. So now they got corn and they got blueberry. Well, he don't like corn and blueberry. I'm a diabetic. I can't eat any of them. I can't eat them.
I like blueberry.
Oh, you would like blueberry. So now I gotta go get blueberry. What? Nobody's gonna eat them, but I gotta get them because now it's the principle of the thing. I'm not paying full price. Now I'm getting the blueberry so I can get the $6.99 price. And I bring the blueberry. I throw them on the counter. I said, there you go. I got another package. I said, why don't you walk over and look at what that sign says? I go, whoop, I get them. Okay, wonderful. So now my wife's checking out. I don't know. She bought some, I don't know, diet iced tea or something. I don't know. It was 2 for something. I don't know. But she only got 1. Well, she rings it up and the price is whatever. And I said, well, what the hell is that? She said, well, you're going to buy 2. I said, what? She said, well, you're going to buy 2. If you buy 1, then you pay this price. Otherwise, you're going to buy 2. I said, but I don't want 2. I want 1. She said, but that's not how it works, sir. I said, so essentially, you're full of crap in the store. There's everything, any sign in the store should just be taken down, or you should at least say you got to buy multiple of whatever. Put up big signs, whatever. It just drove. I know it doesn't sound like a big deal. Listen, I know I can get excited and I can be a jerk sometimes, but this really pushed me over the edge because anything in this store, you had to buy multiples. There's no such thing as, they're going to give you a deal on something. No, they're not. They're going to make you throw 12 muffins down your throat. You'll end up gagging, just spitting them out. They're giving you nothing. Nothing. You're going to buy 2. You're going to buy 3 of something, 4 of something. But what happened to the customer is right. What happened to the customer is always right. That obviously is gone. There's no more the customer is always right because the sign doesn't say that, but they don't want to hear that from me. So needless to say, I'll never go in that store again. I'm done. And I said to my wife, you dragged me here. Your fault. It's on you. I will never go in there again.
She's getting a long list there.
Well, when the customer is nuts, okay?
What nuts? I
There's
was
a
right.
caveat.
I wanted validation that I was right. I wanted to be validated.
Joe, what do you say to the validation? First of all, okay.
You know what? No, I will validate him for all of Catone's comments because he's always right. He is always right.
Thank you, Joe.
There is that scenario where he is actually always right.
So you cheap bastard, you. The Patriots should hire you. You should be writing contracts for them. You belong in that room. You know, I'll give you the money, but it's incentive based. If you play this many games, if you have this many muffins, if you show up with chocolate muffins instead of blueberry muffins.
It's the principle of the matter. It has
So
nothing to do with
let me understand. So you had what was the cost for the dozen?
You had to buy, but I don't want 12, Chris.
No, I'm not asking you that. Okay.
What am I going to go throw them in the freezer? And then
I'm
you take them out.
asking you, how much was it for a dozen?
I don't know. It was like, I think.
Well, remember, damn it, where's Catone's comment?
It was $6.99
for 12.
or $7.99. Yeah.
Okay, so it's $8
But it was
for 12.
It was 2 for it. It was 6 in a container. You had to get 2 to get the price.
I understand. So for 12, she had to get 12 to get an $8. So how much were they each?
Like $8 each, $8.99 each.
Not each muffin. I mean, how much was a 6-pack?
Like per 6 was like almost double the price if you only got 1. It was ridiculous. Like the price of 1 was almost equal to the price of 2. It was something.
So maybe it was like $5-6.
Say $5.
For
yeah,
six.
say $5. Say $5, right? So you would have paid 10 or 11, say, for 2. Right. For 1. No, 2.
So if you got 2 under those circumstances, you would have. So we're talking about a difference of like $4.
You don't understand.
No, you know what?
It wasn't the money. It's the principle of the thing. The sign did not say 2 for. It just had $6.99.
No, I know, but Mark, I bet if you brought the 2 up, you definitely would have paid full price for both of them because they wouldn't have honored it the other way.
Wouldn't have honored it.
He's like Joe Mazzulla with the math. Did you have to get the calculator out? Did you get the calculator out on your phone and start typing things in and try to figure out?
Listen,
your wife must be ashamed of you. Well, I know she's ashamed of you, but I mean,
listen, I was pushing it. Then she starts tapping. I said, "Okay, here we go." She's looking at me like, "You're making a fool of yourself. Just pay the damn money." But so I went and they didn't even have any more of the chocolate. So
blueberry is good. I like blueberry muffins.
Okay, so I had to get blueberry, but nobody eats it.
You freeze them.
I'm an Italian. Do you know how many things I got freeze? What freeze? I don't freeze. I'm not gonna freeze blueberry muffins. First of all, you know what I like? You know what I like? My wife makes them once in a while in the summer. If you're gonna have blueberry muffins, I don't
eat them anymore, but
I don't eat them anymore either. But I'm gonna.
Because if you notice the weekly rewind wash, you see the weight. That was thin. That was thin, Chris.
Okay.
I can't eat blueberry muffins anymore. Go
No,
ahead.
but you know what my wife used to make,
It's
Chris?
got that nice sugary top to
Yeah.
them.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
The sugary top. I'm gonna date myself. She used to make remember the Jordan Marsh blueberry muffins?
Jordan.
Jordan Marsh. My favorite thing.
You
Dude,
don't
this is
remember
going
downtown, the
off.
downtown
Yeah,
Jordan
I
Marsh
remember. Of
Province
course I
used to have
remember
the
that.
blueberry muffins. Oh,
Yeah.
they would have died.
My
for it.
grandmother worked. Our grandmother worked there. Joe.
Okay,
Jordan
there you
Marsh.
go.
Oh, that was
Jordan
bad.
Marsh. Yeah.
I don't know.
Those, yeah.
But listen, nothing
That
was
Cherry
better.
and Webb.
Cherry Webb. That's right. Nothing's better than the old coffee cakes. The coffee,
Oh,
the
you
Drakes? Was they Drakes?
Oh, I
well,
found
No.
you used to
the
want my
best coffee cake ever, hands
What
down.
was it?
It's Auntie something. I think it's called my aunt's coffee cake or something simple like
Oh,
that.
okay.
well,
Unbelievable.
yeah, it used to be a different name,
Oh, really?
and then they had to change it.
Oh,
So,
have to
but
change it again.
they had to change it for political reasons. So, but talking about that, my aunt used to give us some of those. I mean, she talk about cheap gifts. She used to give us those on Christmas too. The little tins you can make them. The little
Yep.
But the blueberry muffins are good, Mark. You know what you should have done? You should have gotten.
I should have stayed home. Is what I should have done.
I mean, you won't listen
You're
to us. You won't listen to your counselor. Like, I don't mean me. I mean the real one. You won't. You won't. I mean, when you're laying on the couch talking about these stories, and they keep telling you, Mark, a simple fix. Oh, you know how calm they are. Mark, a simple fix is just, don't leave the house. But what you should have done, and the next time I encourage you to do this,
Go ahead.
buy the 12.
Yeah.
Buy them. Purchase them
Okay.
first. Say, can you just hang on and ask them? Don't put that in the bag yet. Take the other 6 that you don't want. Open the box and crumble them all up on the friggin' conveyor belt thing. Just crumble them all up and walk out the joint. Then you'll be calling Corso Law Group.
Joe, he's always looking to drum up business, Joe.
Yeah.
He's always looking to drum up business. Look at him.
Well, listen, Mark. Okay, Joe. Yeah, he's right about things, but the way he behaves is just,
You're telling me to crumble them
unseemly.
up. You're telling me to crumble them up.
You can't go by me. So Mark, at some point, Joe, we need to get his wife on the line
Yeah,
at
she's
some
gonna have to
point, or at
call
least call a heated hotline in.
Yeah.
That would be great.
So good stuff, Mark. Catone's. Listen, that thing took me sideways. Catone's comments was presented by the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone Sunday mornings, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. During the Patriots season, we're going to be the first pregame show, so make sure you tune in. We're going to be all Patriots talk all the time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, listen, we can't get the heated hotline today. We're going to save that one, Joe. We're going to save that one for next week. That heated hotline, because we got to get the Yankees versus Red Sox, or I think Mark's going to come through the camera at me. So stick around.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. Who is that handsome guy in the promo there?
Who is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, right? I don't know. Looks like a movie star, don't he?
Looking like a complete fool.
I had to pay extra to get that guy in there.
So, speaking of fools and foolish play, we need to get into Yankees versus Red Sox. We're going to do it now. I like that wash too. When I say wash, I mean that little sound you hear before we start the segment. When you're on High Heart and the radio and podcast and all that, and 790, you don't see it. But those sounds come with a Yankees and then a Red Sox across the board. It's pretty cool. So
it is cool.
Get on YouTube and watch the show. Make sure you subscribe. So, Mark, talking about the Yankees and Red Sox. Let's start with the Yanks because I know you're chomping at the bit to do that. So now they've lost what?
Well, they've lost two series in a
row.
4 in a 4 out of their last 5 they've lost.
And they've lost the last 2 to Baltimore.
Yep.
I mean, this is Thursday. So
and they lost 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox.
Yes. 2 series that the Red Sox one irritates the crap out of me, and the Baltimore series is one you need. And so now they're 51-26. They're still a half game up. That's not really the issue.
No.
But what's the situation with this team right now?
So, Chris, first of all, I didn't realize how poorly they are at catcher, how poor they are at catcher. So Jose Trevino gave up 9 stolen bases on Sunday to the Red Sox, Chris. Just think about that. 9 stolen bases. That was a major league record by the Red Sox. And Cora realized he couldn't throw anybody out, and Cora just kept running them, right? Being Cora, he just said, okay, you know what? We're going to run until he throws somebody out. He couldn't throw anybody out. He just kept running. So that's a major issue. And the other major issue with that, Chris, is Garrett Cole's back, but Cole's personal catcher is Trevino. So every time Cole pitches, he's going to have to play.
Well, you may have to suck up the nonsense with the personal catcher thing, Mark.
Right? So that's
come on.
That's ridiculous. The hitting cool down. The guys that were playing a little bit of small ball, guys like Volpe and those guys putting the ball in play, taking extra bases, they really cooled off against the Red Sox. Verdugo, those guys. Well, Verdugo had opening night in Boston. He had a great game, and then he cooled off. Those guys, Rizzo is out now for about 6 weeks. He broke his wrist in that Boston series or forearm, but he was batting like 220. He was giving you nothing. Mm-hmm. So we were all excited 2 weeks ago, Chris, but we've been brought back down to earth. And I know you want to talk about, we're still getting decent starting pitching, Chris, but I know you want to talk about that bullpen.
Well, I will. And also, what you didn't mention is you're starting to see some errors. You're starting to see some bad defensive play.
You are.
Saw a couple errors today. So Volpe had one.
Chris, listen, if they continue to falter and they don't go to a World Series, Boone's gonna go and you gotta go get Cora.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of hearing about go to a World Series. They have to win a World Series.
Okay.
Listen, with the lineup they have and the pitching they have this year, if they don't win, don't talk to me about they can't be in line with where the Dodgers are or some of the Rangers, some of these teams that are up there. The Yankees, Philly, if you're going to lead the league in wins all year long, if you're going to be right there 1-2, 1-2, it's like the Celtics, not to cross sports. Then the expectation is to win it. Don't get there, win it. I don't want to hear about getting there. Because I'm had enough with Boone. Boone's been given enough rope. No?
Yeah, no, I agree. Chris. The bullpen, Chris, you're not going to win a championship. I'm going to tell you right now. I'll tell you, it's what, June 20th? You're not going to win a World Series with that bullpen. So you're going to have to make some moves at the trade deadline because you will not win the World Series, Chris, with that bullpen. The closer is shaky. Every time Holmes comes into the game, he puts guys on base. I understand his ERA is low, but it don't matter, Chris. There's always guys on base. He blew the game.
Yeah, at a 1.8 ERA.
Game 2 against in extra innings against Baltimore. Game 1, we won, but he gave up a 2-run homer in that game. I know you have a few things to say about Holmes.
My son thinks I need to go to therapy. Okay, when the Yankees are playing and that guy comes in. He's my least favorite Yankee ever.
Ever.
That's right. That's how pissed off I am at this guy. Because every single time he comes in the game, I'm screaming at the TV. I'm yelling. I'm not even yelling. I'm the type of person where if I'm yelling, you're still in it. You're still in it. Once I get calm and start getting irritated and talking calm, that's a problem. That's a problem for me. It's a problem from people around me. And when that dude gets on the mound, I start talking now to the television. And I can't stand it. he's got to put somebody on. He's got to get base runners have to get on every time. He's got to make it interesting. I don't know what the hell that's about, Mark. I mean, he did it the other night where he got out of it. It was like 4-0, and then he came in and he gave up a 2-run home run on a pitch that you and I could have hit.
Yeah, he did.
You know, and it hit that short porch. Oh, and
Chris, the whole bullpen is struggling. Everybody they bring out of the Mariachio, he pitched well early. Every time he comes out of the bullpen now, Chris, it's batting practice. Like,
well, they
have
just
a
sent
problem.
somebody to the injured list now. Somebody in the bullpen just went out there,
They have a problem in the bullpen, Chris. Now, so either the starters are going to have to stretch out more, which I don't think they're going to be able to in this day and age because starters don't do that anymore. The bullpen needs help, Chris. They're struggling. They need help. They do. I mean, Judge and Soto can only take you so far. Judge and Soto. I mean, Judge is putting up MVP numbers. He had another home run today, Thursday. I think he's got 27. But
by the way, wait, what's that? What's this talk about? You know, it's going to be a sweepstakes between them and the Mets for you sign them. You sign them.
Yes.
What I don't even know what we're talking about when we say sweepstakes with the Mets. And listen, let that guy go to the Mets, okay? And I'll pack Cashman's bags for him, okay?
Yeah.
So, and conversely, Mark, flipping to the other side. I mean, usually it's the other way around. But so far, right now, Red Sox, I mean, again, it's Thursday. I think they play tomorrow. They won 5 in a row. They're 40-35, so they're now above 500.
They're only a game out of the wild card, Chris.
The wild card. What do you make of this? I mean, and then
Chris,
if it continues this way.
At the beginning of the year, you and I thought they would hit, they would struggle, the pitching would struggle. They'd probably be a 500 team. We thought because of the pitching. The pitching has been better than we expected. The hitting wasn't. But now the hitting is coming around. So if the hitting comes around, Chris, with this pitching, they're going to stay in the hunt for the wild card all year, especially with Cora. So do they make a move at the trade deadline to try to get in?
Do you want to know what my prediction is?
Yeah.
They're going to sell.
I do. How
They're
can
gonna
you
sell.
sell,
Jenkins,
Chris? Maybe
they're
you
gonna sell
stand back.
him.
How do you sell?
Because Henry doesn't want to pay anymore. He's making enough money in the regular. He doesn't care.
Chris, they're going to get crucified if they sell.
Well, they're already getting crucified.
No, I know that, but they're starting to win a little bit now, Chris. If they're a game out or two for the wild card and you sell, oh my.
They're never going to do it. They're never going to do it. I'm telling you, they will never do it.
They're getting pitching. I don't know how you sell at this point. Listen, they stole 9 bases against the Yankees Sunday night. They're playing small ball.
Yes.
They're stealing bases. Cora is figuring out ways to win with this team, Chris. We talked about this last week, you and I, on the show. I don't know if people quite realize the job that Cora is doing with this team.
Oh, he's a manager of the year candidate right now. If they continue like this.
Chris, they have no talent, and they're winning.
When's the trade deadline?
I think it's is it either late
Sometime
July, early
July,
August, late July or late July, maybe last week of July.
Well, all I know is, in my opinion, they're going to sell. I don't want them to. You know my feeling. If you're close and you have a chance to make the playoffs, you do it. Look at Arizona.
Yeah, they did it last year.
Look at Arizona last year. So,
hey, Chris, historically, sometimes these wild card teams sneak in and they catch fire, and you can win. So you could go on a run in the playoffs if you catch fire. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Henry does.
So we'll see. Stay tuned for Corso and Catone for that. But we were presented today by the Pats Nation. Premieres June 30th, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Pats Nation with Corso and Catone. Mark and I and Joe will be there. We'll be talking all Patriots all the time. When the season starts, it'll be our pregame show for the Patriots. You're not going to want to miss that.
Hey,
because
Chris,
if we know nothing,
we're still on Saturdays.
We're still on Saturdays, of course, with Catone. And make sure you come back next Saturday. We're going to have Catone's comments, more baseball. We'll get to that heated hotline. I promise you next week. Anything you bring to the table, we will be ready. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now find Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.